Good morning everybody and welcome back to Grawnya's Kitchen. I'm sorry I've been away for so long, but I've been busy with stuff happening in my own personal life. But I am so delighted to be receiving comments almost on a daily basis on my channel now, and of course the raisin scones are the most popular. So if you haven't checked out that video, you need to go check it out. I'm very flattered by all your comments, thank you so much, and I hope that you'll stay with me now on the journey. So I renamed the channel Grawnya's Home and Kitchen, and you'll notice I spelt my name phonetically because I know it's very difficult for non-Irish people to pronounce my name when it's spelt in the Gaelic way. So I'm taking on lots of different projects now at home, and I want to share some of those with you also along with my cooking. So I hope that you will all enjoy it and they'll be of benefit to you all. Okay, so today I'm going to make the easiest and most delightful cake you have ever tasted. It's a carrot cake, but it's with walnuts, so I guess we'll call it a carrot and walnut cake. There's no butter in this, so there's no beating, and it's simple, foolproof, and I guarantee you your family will love it. So what we start off with is, I've already measured out, I hope you guys don't mind. So I have 1.5 cups of flour, sorry. Now, I've said in my other videos, in Ireland we use self-raising flour, so we don't need to add any baking powder to it. But in Canada, our all-purpose flour does not have a raising agent in it. So because of that, we're going to add some baking powder to this. I find at home I wouldn't, if I had a plain flour at home, I don't think I would have added as much baking powder. But somehow here it needs a little more than we would normally put in at home. So I'm going to put in 3 level teaspoons of baking powder. Now I know it sounds like a lot, because usually I would average about a teaspoon of baking powder to a cup of flour. So this is a much higher ratio. But I found that this is what works best for me. So it's so easy, everything goes in. You can sieve it if you want. I actually have my sieve out there, but I'm not actually going to sieve it because I really couldn't be bothered. But for those of you who like to sieve, go ahead, by all means do it. Now I just have to check on my recipe to make sure I have the right quantities. Now the recipe normally calls for 1 cup of brown sugar, but I didn't have, you know, the I guess it's the granulated, what do they call it? The demerara sugar maybe, which is more like a regular sugar and is more granulated. But I only have this one here, which is the dark brown sugar, which you can see is much more dense. So normally, guys, you put in 1 cup of brown sugar, and that would be the loose brown sugar. But because I didn't have it, I'm only going to put in 3/4 cup of this because it's so dense. I'm assuming that it would be pretty equal to 1 cup of the demerara sugar. So I'm going to pop that into my flour. And I'm also going to add a teaspoon of cinnamon. Now I also add nutmeg, but I haven't got any left, and believe it or not, I haven't been able to find any. So we're just going to go with the cinnamon today, and it's giving me, now I say 1/2 teaspoon. I think that those of you who've watched my video know my quick measurements. So for you, if you're not sure, 1/2 teaspoon. For the more experienced baker, just add some to your mixture. Okay, so in here now we have our flour, baking soda, brown sugar and cinnamon. So we're literally just going to add now all our wet ingredients. So as it's a carrot cake, of course we have 2 carrots. This is actually 1 large carrot. I don't weigh the carrot, but you can see how much there is. It probably is the equivalent to 1.5 cups of grated carrot. This is a nice large carrot. Grated pretty much will be close to this. If you have small carrots, just use 2 small carrots. So I usually go by 1 large carrot or 2 small, okay? I've shown you this grater in my other videos. If you haven't got it, go get it. Get it from IKEA. It's the best invention ever. I absolutely love it. And then you just literally drag your carrot across and you get your lovely grated carrot. So we're going to pop our carrot in. Okay guys, so there's also banana in this cake. It adds a beautiful flavour to it, so don't worry that it's going to be a dominant flavour in the cake. It does just add a lovely subtle flavour to the cake. And because there's no butter, it needs the, I guess, the moistness of the banana. So we're just going to add in our banana. So actually that's 2 bananas just mashed. Now the riper the banana the better. In Canada, when you buy your bananas, they're practically green. So these ones weren't overripe by any stretch of the imagination. Okay guys, so now I've added my banana and now I'm going to add the rest of my wet ingredients. So it's 2 eggs. I'm just going to add the 2 eggs in. This is just so simple, all in one bowl. And so in place of the butter, we use either a sunflower oil, or this is a sunflower canola oil mix, or you could use a canola if you didn't have access to a sunflower. Sometimes I find it difficult to get a sunflower oil, but this one is sunflower and canola and it's perfect. Okay, so we're going to add a 1/2 cup. Now I don't have my 1/2 cup measure because I don't know what has happened to it, so I'm just going to judge. That'll be about a 1/2 cup. I'm just going to add my 1/2 cup of oil. Now, but there are walnuts in this recipe, but we're not going to add the walnuts until closer to the end. So we're going to use the paddle. If you do have a KitchenAid, use this attachment. If you don't have an electric mixer, you can use a hand mixer, or you can do this by hand. This is a very wet mixture, so there's no problem in doing it by hand. But since I have my KitchenAid, I'm going to use it. Okay, so you're going to put on your paddle attachment, lock your machine, and then you're going to slowly turn on your paddle. Now I actually forgot what side it was on and I turned on my speed instead of locking my paddle, and I actually did splash some flour around the edges. Okay, so here I'm going to come in and just show everyone. Now I only mixed that for maybe 20 seconds, if I even did 20 seconds. So if you want to have a look, it's a very wet mixture, so that's absolutely perfect. Now I'm going to add in my walnuts and just quickly give them a mixture. Okay, what I always forget to tell you, and what I've actually forgotten to do myself, is to turn on the oven. So in Canada, 360 degrees, in Ireland 180. So I'm actually going to pop on the oven now, and then while it's heating I'll show you the rest of the steps. So I'm going to bake 180 and we'll let that heat up. Okay guys, now that we have made our mixture, I'm going to show you how to prepare your tin for baking. So I use a springform pan. This one just happens to have a glass bottom. And I use this cooking spray. This is actually canola oil cooking spray, and I literally just spray the inside. So it needs to be greased. If you don't have the spray, just use some margarine or some butter. And there I go, using that dreaded margarine word again. Can I just clarify to all the people that watch my videos, it's your personal choice. If you want to use butter, please by all means go ahead and use butter. So I know a lot of people don't like that I use margarine in some of my baking. But anyway, that's another point. So now I have greased it, and I'm literally just going to pour in my mixture. Now you can see I splashed the sides with some flour, so I'm just going to mix that in with my spatula. And let's get off the rest of that. Take it off its stand. Just give it all a mix in there to integrate the extra flour. And I'm just going to pop it into my greased pan. Now this takes 45 minutes to cook, so it's very quick, and I will be making in a few minutes an icing to go on top, of cream cheese icing, which is just literally the icing on the cake, guys. It's so delightful. So there we go. I've put everything into my pan. Give it a little shake and a tap, level it out, and then we are going to put it into our oven heated to 180 degrees. Mine isn't quite heated yet, so I'm going to just hold on a few minutes before I put it in, and set your timer for 45 minutes. So when it's baked, guys, I'll come back to you and I will show you how to make the icing. Okay everybody, here is the cake out of the oven. As you can see, it has a lovely loaf look to it, and it's beautifully risen and nicely browned on top. So I'm going to take it out of the springform pan and I'm going to let it cool before I add the icing. So I will be back. Okay, so now we're going to make our cream cheese icing. This is delightful. So for measurements, I usually take a block of Philadelphia cream cheese, which is 250 grams. And what I usually do is I do half the amount of butter to the cream cheese. So I'm just going to cut the cream cheese in half. And this has been in the fridge, so I'm just going to pop it into the microwave for a couple of seconds just to soften it up. And then with the butter, so it's not quite half, just because this is more convenient. So I take a quarter of a cup of butter. What I usually do is I take my knife and I find the halfway mark of the pound of butter and just make a little indentation and then go again to the quarter pound. So that's a good way to judge by eye. Okay, so we're going to now take our quarter pound of butter down, and again I'm going to pop them into this bowl. I'm just going to put them in the microwave for about 15 seconds just to soften them up a little bit before we beat them. Just try 15 seconds, and then we will put them into our mixer. And again we're going to use our paddle beater to mix the cream cheese and butter, and then we're going to add a cup of icing sugar. So I have a cup of icing sugar here. Okay, so hopefully this will be softened just enough. I'm going to take this out, put in my butter and my cream cheese. Put my paddle on, make sure you lock it, and then start very slowly mixing your butter and your cream cheese. You're going to thick this to almost like a light mousse consistency. You will need to pull it down from the sides every now and then, especially if it's not too soft. And of course, you know, you can always leave it out and have it at room temperature before you start this, if you wish. Okay, so I'm going to lock it again, and then... Okay, so now we're going to add our sugar. Sorry, I have some butter on me there, so again, pull it back down. I'm definitely getting smaller. Now I'm going to add some of the sugar. Add about maybe half of the sugar. Again, lock it. Now you got to start this really slowly, otherwise the sugar's going to go everywhere. Again, lift up, push it down from the sides, and add the rest of your sugar. You can see how light and fluffy it is. And then add the rest of the sugar. Okay, remember, start slowly. There you have it. Made. How easy is that? So this will go on top of your cake when it's cooled, and I will show you the finished product when the cake is out of the oven and ready to be iced. Okay guys, so here is our finished cake. So I just put the cream cheese icing on top and I fluffed it up with a knife, and then I added walnuts. But I'm wondering if any of you noticed the mistake I made. I just noticed it myself when I was watching back on the videos. I actually put equal parts butter and cream cheese in, which is actually fine because we do use butter icing, but I should have only put 1/8 of a pound of butter into the mixture. So just remember that when you're doing the video yourselves, just make sure that you just put in the half the amount of butter to the amount of cream cheese. So guys, I will be putting the ingredients down below for you to follow. And I'm hoping for my next video to make an Irish Guinness stew with some Yorkshire puddings, so stay tuned.